Hey YouTube, this is Animated Fanboy. Again, coming back for another album review. This one again in the four-part series of the Big Four of Thrash debuts and see how they stack up. First, we saw Slayer Show No Mercy, and then Metallica's Kill 'Em All. Right now, first place is in Metallica. Metallica, obviously, because it's more of an iconic album and has a lot of anthems. Unlike Slayer Show No Mercy, even though it's a great album, there's not much. Well, they don't play their stuff live, first of all, and it's a forgotten album. A lot of people don't know of the first Slayer album. People think of as the first Slayer album as Hell Awaits. So that's why I gotta go Kill 'Em All. This is also another forgotten album. It's Anthrax debut album, Fistful of Metal, and I think this is a forgotten album because it doesn't sound like Anthrax. Much like Maiden, you took out two important members of Maiden, and it doesn't sound like Maiden. Like in the 90s, when they took out Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith, and they replaced with Johnny Gears and Blaze, and it didn't sound like Maiden in the 90s, and they got a lot of backlash for it. Same with Anthrax and the original lineup, which a lot of people don't really know, which consists of the tremendous drummer, which is tremendous drummer, tremendous rhythm guitar player, tremendous lead player, and it's but the bassist and the vocalist aren't remembered. Neil Turbin and Danny Milker. I couldn't even remember him, but he was now in Nuclear Assault, which I think he did a better job than Anthrax. And one of the reasons they fired Danny was because they said he was unprofessional, much like Dave Mustaine, but Dave Mustaine could play, and they say one of the rumors was that it took him 18 takes to finally get 18 covered by Alice Cooper, which is in this album. So they fired him and they replaced him with Charlie's nephew, Frankie Bello, which Frankie Bello is an amazing amazing bass player, and I think he is what makes Anthrax. And in this shirt, Spraying Their Disease, their second album, I think it was their definite should have been their start, because from that album is what Anthrax finally got their sound. And this album is very thrashy, just thrashy, but nothing special to it. And then they fired Neil Turbin, and they got a better vocalist in my opinion. Even though I love Neil Turbin, he has a great voice, and I really dig the high speed vocals he does. But I think Joey Belladonna does it better, and Joey Belladonna is one of my favorite singers of metal, in my opinion. He's the third. The three best are Bruce Dickinson, Dio, and Joey Belladonna. They're great, and even though Neil Turbin can hit those high notes, it doesn't sound like Anthrax. Even though they have Dan, and they have Scott Ian and Charlie, but you're missing Frankie Bello, which Frankie Bello is a major part in the in bass and backup vocals, which you don't get in this album. And Frankie Bello, and another problem with the bass is that you can barely recognize his bass here. And Mr. Frankie Bello, he has a little bass intros and cool bass solos, but in here there's nothing. You can barely hear the bass. But let's start with the positives. Death Rider is the first track of the album, and it's a really cool track. It's one of my favorites. You were hearing it before this track. This track is Step From Above, but it's a really cool track, one of my favorite. And Neil Turbin, when he left Anthrax, he got a band called the Death Riders, so I think that's a big hit, and it's a cool track. Metal Thrashing Mad, that's the most iconic song in this album. It's a really thrashy song. It makes you want to punch stuff. It's just great. It's just a great song. And it's the one that you will remember most out of this album. And it's probably my favorite, but not. We'll get to my favorite later. Um, I'm 18 by Alice Cooper. It's a good cover. It's not, in my opinion, it's not better than the original. I don't know, but it's a good cover. It's worth a listen. Panic. Panic is my favorite track of the album. It's so thrashy. Great solos. Great melody solos by Dan and Scott Ian. But even though in the future, like when he did solos for Caught in the Mosh and all that, I think he was using a harmonizer. Then instead of having Scott Ian do the harmony, that's what I hear. I don't know if leave a comment below to tell me if I'm wrong or right. If in Among the Living, when Dan used solos like in Caught in the Mosh, he used the harmonizer or not. But here it sounds like Scotty and Dan are doing a harmony together, which is really cool, and it works, and it's my favorite track on the album. It's definitely like a 5 out of 5. Soldiers of Metal is another great song. It's not my favorite, but it comes close to it, and great starting. Like when it starts, it's just great. I think I listen to that now, actually. And then, Death from Above was the one you were hearing, and it's not that great. Oh, and Soldiers of Metal gets a 5 out of 5. Death from Above is a good track. It's fairly enjoyable. Not the best, not the worst. It's in the middle. I don't really care. It's pretty forgettable. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Anthrax. Anthrax is it's an okay track. I never got into it, never listened to it that much. Yeah, doesn't sound like Anthrax, I'll tell you that much. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It's enjoyable, it's listenable, but it's just not Anthrax without Frankie and Joey, in my opinion. Across the River is an instrumental, which is like a minute long. It's kind of like March of the Arrow, kind of Iron Maiden thing. It works. I think it's more of a filler than actually an instrumental, but it's enjoyable too. It's actually really, I'll give that a 4. And Howling Furies, it was, for me, it was the worst track of the album. It's not a bad track, but it wasn't my favorite. I didn't enjoy it as much. I don't know. So I'll give that a 3 stars, because I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. And this album I'll give a 7, because even though it's Anthrax, and I love Anthrax, especially with Joey Belladonna and vocals and Frankie Bella, this album doesn't sound like Anthrax. Any other band could have put this album out and it would have been great, but it's Anthrax. This is not, like, this doesn't sound like Anthrax. It's not Anthrax. It's not what made them unique. It's not what made them unique in the metal genre. But after this, Spreading the Disease, which started what Anthrax would sound like, and I think that's a better album. So if you're trying to get into Anthrax, probably not pick this up unless you're an Anthrax fan. But if you're trying to get into Anthrax, you should probably pick first Spreading the Disease or Among the Living. It's a better album. So right now, I'll say that I say this a 7 out of 10.